Hello everyone, RFG here with a review for Voidwrought, developed by Powersnake and published by Kwalee, available on PC and the Switch. A dark new Metroidvania with the hand-drawn art style where there is plenty of platforming, combat, and exploration involved through the mostly underground setting. The game begins in the Gati archipelago during the rise of the Red Star. Many become drawn to this land to fulfill their own desires at this time, but the simulacrum awakens from a cocoon deep within the shrine to fulfill their purpose. Right after this intro, you're given a somewhat straightforward path to follow. Awakening Namun, the first anointed, with the nearby salt receptacle will let her remove the seal preventing you from growing further. This will also grant you the ability to heal using salt receptacles. These are your main source of healing, and an indicator is shown at the top of the screen under your health. You can find more receptacles throughout the game, and bringing it back to Namun to awaken them will add another heal charge. If you want to increase your health bar, you can do so by exploring and finding shards of Vitae. Finding 3 will permanently add to your overall health. You can stick around and ask Namun questions where she'll give you some exposition such as awakening her brothers, or you can proceed to the next area, the Commons, by destroying the rocks blocking you. You can break them by attacking them directly, and the revealing light will show you the exit. Pretty much all entrances and exits to a room showcase a light coming from within. In the next room you'll meet the Shrine Keeper. He tasks you with defeating the council and even gives you their location. He then mentions that he'll prepare the shrine, something I'll get into later, but what's more important is what Voidwrought presents to you in this room. This room showcases a lot of the early game traversal obstacles you will need to overcome, and some basics on how attacks work. Some gaps are too narrow to pass through, and jumps are needed to move forward, but the simulacrum's jump doesn't gain too much height, and in some cases may need a bit of extra momentum to reach higher or further. Standing attacks can be done continuously and aimed in the left, right, and up directions. Attacking an enemy can cause some knockback, but holding a direction towards an enemy while attacking can slowly keep you regaining your position. Air attacks have slightly different properties. Attacking a target in the left and right directions will let you strike up to 3 times in a row before falling. An up attack will have you descend normally with or without hitting anything, but aiming downwards and attacking at the right time on a target will let you pogo off of it, and correct timing will let you repeat this multiple times. While you're limited on what you can explore in this room at the moment, you're not too far from your first Chamber of Reflection, which are save points that heal damage and refill your salt receptacles. These are represented with the purple light outside and purple square with the 4-point star marked on your map. Your map automatically updates whenever you make progress in a grid-like manner, and certain key locations are notated when entered. Any locations you want to keep track of yourself, you can mark between 4 different choices to help you keep track of what caught your eye. This current save point is also right next to your first upgrade. The adaptation upgrade lets you pass under small spaces. It can be used to avoid some enemies or attacks, but it's primarily used for traversal. Your path is still pretty linear even with the adaptation upgrade. You can continue to explore, but you'll still be limited on where you can go next, but your next upgrade, Improved Ligaments, allows you to grab ledges. This may not sound too amazing, especially for a Metroidvania, but the level layouts are designed around this for movement for pretty much all areas. Even some areas that do have traversal options for other abilities still seem focused on making sure that ledge grabbing is at least possible to navigate within them. The areas in Voidwrought are separated into regions. These regions will generally have a distinct visual look, different enemies, and tend to have their own feature or gimmicks. Before you can venture into these other areas, and even before you gain your ledge grab ability, you'll have to defeat your first Herald. Heralds are the main bosses of Voidwrought. Each one is pretty unique, along with the arena space that they occupy, and each seems well balanced in terms of what abilities you should have at the time, or the bare minimum of abilities you can leave the commons area with. Heralds usually guard a room with a new upgrade. The Heralds aren't exactly easy, but the difficulty for later ones may differ due to what abilities you unlock, along with equipable souls and relics that you can gain or purchase. You can start to acquire them after defeating the first Herald and gaining the ledge grab ability. There are 3 slots available to equip for souls at once. These are passive bonuses that can provide different types of benefits such as an extra bit of health, shortened healing time, and adding a projectile to your attack depending on health. Up to 2 relics can be equipped and can be used at the cost of void charges located next to your health bar. Most relics can deal damage in addition to your standard attack. To fill up meter to activate your relics, you must land successful attacks or visit a save point. You can gain more void charges after a certain level of progress and visiting certain characters. Some of these characters I mentioned is whom you'll be able to buy items, relics, and souls from. Your main currency are ichor and trace metal, which are fairly easy to acquire by defeating enemies and destroying parts of the environment. Some purchases will require artifact fragments or divine remnants as well. These are generally scattered around the environment, so they aren't as easy to come by. There are other items throughout Voidwrought that you can collect, but these are more specific use cases. Currency needed for the purchases are shown on the right, and how much is in your inventory is shown at the bottom left. Your ichor can also be spent back with the Shrine Keeper to excavate sections of the shrine, and though other forms of currency aren't required, you will need a number of devotees to order what needs an excavation. You can attract more of them by lighting beacons hidden throughout Voidwrought. Excavations can provide you with items, but can also unlock other rooms to access for various purposes. You're not in any rush to pursue any of these options, and your path is still fairly straightforward, but it's around this point in the game that your progress can begin to branch in different directions. At a certain point, you'll mostly be left without a map marker to guide you, so you're free to decide where you go on your own. This is when your map notes would play a part in how you progress. You'll steadily gain new power-ups to help traverse the zones you're in, so keeping track of where these abilities can be used and updating your markers should help you with where you need to go next. Whenever I play a Metroidvania, I generally feel that there's that crucial item, equipment, or ability that registers for me that goes, I know exactly where I want to use this, and progress begins to flow. And that stays true for Voidwrought, but I think that there's also a bit of a balance issue in exploration. I said that you'll gain new powers steadily, but depending on your decisions, some power-ups may feel more substantial than others depending on when they're acquired. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these abilities will be useful for progression and are actually pretty nifty in their own right, but for some of them I was just able to find ways around their usefulness before I got to them, though some of them still have practical uses for improved movement. Of course, this is just my experience, so I don't doubt that others might have a different outlook depending on decisions made, but I do think that there is an imbalance there. But that doesn't take away from the many positive gameplay aspects of Voidwrought itself. The fast-paced movement of the game, the steady flow of progress, the ability to explore freely, the amount of variety of relics and souls are all handled very well. Despite the dark framing of its concept, it makes good use of colors, and the animation of characters, enemies, and bosses are very smooth. Each region stands out from another, so you should always have a decent idea of where you are when re-entering areas. For those of you who are focused on story, it's very light. You will come across characters who you can interact with, and they do sometimes provide you with something to do, but I often found myself just trying to search for my next form of progression as I didn't see a strong narrative focus. There is a good amount of lore though, and what's there is interesting. The heralds, regions, and beans sections in the compendium are all worth a read, and I do think that there should have been a bit more emphasis on notifying you when a new entry has been added. Music was overall fantastic. Many areas may be dominant with an atmospheric sound that matches with the aesthetic and eventually builds into something epic, but other tracks are completely start to finish bangers. Difficulty follows the trend of many games nowadays. Just about all forms of progression are kept after a death, including currency gained. Your death basically just sends you back to the last save point you visited. You might occasionally be met with a challenging area or boss, but you shouldn't be stuck spending too much time anywhere. Unless you're trying to unlock the true ending. While it doesn't require 100% completion of the game, like finding all of the various collectibles, it does require you to find some difficult locate areas to unlock. There is an in-game tracker in the region section of the menu, but I only found it somewhat useful. I definitely think that something about the map or the region section, or maybe an equipable soul should be added to help narrow down where to look for hidden items or secret areas, as the process right now just seems to be tedious, and I think players should strive for the true ending to get the most value. In terms of replayability, there isn't anything in-game that would really qualify, but I do think this would be an interesting game to speedrun. The layout of where power-ups are in comparison to heralds, and the key progression areas seem like they can make for some creative routing for multiple categories. Voidwrought is a solid contender in the Metroidvania genre. It's got a strong foundation in its gameplay, a dark undertone but colorful aesthetic, the soundtrack is terrific, and has good all-around variety. I do think it comes up a bit short in certain design aspects, but nothing that I think anyone couldn't get past. If you're a fan of the genre, I definitely think it's worth playing. But that's it for me. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.